This is the Professional Adjunct Podcast, episode PA002. Hello, friends. You're listening to the Professional Adjunct Podcast, a place where we can share ideas about teaching adult students online and in the classroom. On this show, we will discuss strategies for teaching with the purpose of becoming more effective at what we do. Let's get started. Hey, everybody. Glad you could join us today. Today, I want to talk about building a sense of presence in an online class. Now, what do I mean by this? Perhaps the best way to think about it is to think back when you last took an online course. How did your instructor engage with you as a student? Did you ever have an instructor who simply graded your assignments and posted the grades each week? Never heard from him or her through the course? Rarely, sent an email out or anything like that? To me, that's moderating an online course, and that's not what we should be doing. But I bet we've all had an instructor that moderated our course at one time or another. In fact, if you would have asked me 5-6 years ago, I would have told you the biggest difference between teaching in the classroom and teaching an online class, I'm simply moderating the course. I no longer believe that. Or should I say, I no longer accept that. What I mean when I say building an online presence is creating an environment in the online course where your students know you're there, you're engaged with them, you're participating in the course with them, and therefore you're teaching them. You're not just moderating. Because, most of the courses that we teach online have already been built. The assignments are there. So there's a lot of things that we can just kind of take for granted. But there's a lot of things that we can do to create a sense of presence online as well. Let's talk about some of those things. What can we do as instructors that will create that online presence with our students? The first thing you could do is create an announcement each week where you highlight the topic of discussion for the week and the assignments that are due that week. Just simply reviewing what's on the cover page for that week. Week 1 assignments, Unit 1, Phase 1, whatever you may call it. You might take it a step further, though, and also tell your students what it is that you look for in assignments. For instance, I stress the importance of participation in the online discussions. I'll tell them when I expect their initial response to the online discussion to be posted, and then how many times throughout the week that I would like to see them participating. Sometimes I'll also stress some things such as including supporting evidence from their textbooks to support their thoughts and ideas in not only their papers, but their discussions. I stress that to my students all the time. I want to know that you've read the assigned reading. I want to know that you understand it. And I want to know that you can apply it to the assignments. And, because my experience has been, not only as a student, but as an instructor, that there are a lot of courses where students do not necessarily have to read the assignments, the assigned reading assignments, in order to complete the assignments due that week. That's a sad fact, but in some courses, I've seen that to be absolutely true. So I stress the fact, not only is it important for critical thinking and good academic writing, but it also gives me evidence that they have, in fact, read the assigned reading and can apply it to their assignments each week. So I find that's important. So that's one of the things I put in my weekly announcements is things like that. So I'll go through, this week we're going to talk about this. By the end of the week, you should be able to answer these questions. And then here's the first assignment, a little bit about that. Here's the second assignment, a little bit about that. And then, of course, I always end my announcement with, if you have any questions, please contact me. It always amazes me how few students will reach out and communicate with their instructor. Now, what I've also started to do is not only to post a written announcement of the overview, as I call them an overview of the week. I also record now, or video record, my giving that announcement. And then I use the written portion almost like not like a script, like a transcript. So I'll post an announcement with a YouTube video embedded in that announcement. And then below that video is the transcript of what I'm talking about in the announcement. And the reason I do that is some students learn best by reading. Some students learn best by hearing. Some students learn best by seeing. And I figure if I do it this way, where I have it both written out and a video, I'm hitting all three of those areas. And I've had great response from students that appreciate that video. Not only does it help them to understand what's expected each week, but rather than just reading an email message basically of an overview of the assignments, they see who I am and they're able to connect with me. And I've had a lot of students remark about that they really appreciated that they're able to, they can connect better with me because they can see who I am. And so it's been a great, great success. So if you want to step up your weekly announcements, that's what I suggest you do. You don't have to have any fancy video equipment. Most computer monitors, I tend to use Macs. They've got built-in cameras, built-in microphones. Just, use QuickTime to record a quick video. And I've stepped it up a little bit with different equipment and things like that to make it a little more polished and things like that. But, in most cases, students don't care. They just appreciate the fact that you're taking the time to record a video and making a connection with them. So keep it simple. But I think you'll find that if you're not doing it, that this will be a huge way to help you create an online presence. The second thing, and probably the most obvious thing we can do, is to participate in the online discussions each week. I've experienced and seen some instructors who don't participate in the discussions. And, I'm probably guilty of that as well back in the beginning. But I've come to appreciate the value in participating in the discussions for a couple of different reasons. One, the obvious, is that it enhances the entire discussion when I'm in there involved. If somebody posts a discussion, but they're not quite getting to the point, then I'll ask a couple of probing questions. Tell me more about what you are stating in this discussion. Or if they didn't cite anything any of the reading assignments or any other academic source, I might ask them, what have you read in our textbook that would back that up? And I know that may seem like I'm putting students on the spot, but it also helps to set the tone for the discussion. I have found that when I do that, when I push back, in fact, I actually tell my students in an announcement that they may view this as pushing back a little bit, but I tell them, I'm not trying to push back, but I'm trying to advance the conversation. And what I find, even in courses that are only 5 weeks long, that it only takes 1 or 2 weeks of doing that, and the students start to really get it. Oh, this is what he expects. And the discussions vastly improve from week 1 to week 3 and 4. The other practical piece of that is when I go to grade the discussions, I don't have to read them all so carefully because I've been reading them throughout the week. And it cuts down my grading time a lot because I've already read through the discussions. I'm already familiar with what the students have said, so I can skim it pretty quickly and get the gist for the grading. Did they respond when they were supposed to? Did they participate up to the expectations I've laid out? Did they incorporate their textbooks and other academic support in supporting their opinions and things like that? And it's pretty quick for me to go through and post a grade for discussions, even in a class of 20, 23 students, simply because I've been involved in the discussion all week. Even if I didn't post a response all the time, I was always in there reading them. And then come time for grading, it's just a review and then, assigning a grade. So I find that helps as well. Oh, the way I do this, just a little sense of practicality here, is I block out a couple of hours each morning, about 3 or 4 days a week, to read and respond to discussions. I usually start that the day the discussion is due because I always have a few students that are posting their initial response before the due date. So I want to, be involved by that time. And then, the day after, of course, the initial response is due, I'm in there reading and responding as much as I feel appropriate at that time. And then at least one other day. So typically I'll be in my discussions on Wednesday, Thursdays, and Saturdays. And then Sundays is when the discussions are due. So rather than waiting until Saturday morning to read everybody's posts and then it could be overwhelming when you've got a large class and everybody's posted 2 or 3 or 4 responses. You're talking 80, 90. I've had some discussions that go well over 100 posts. And if I wait until one day to read and try to respond, oh man, does that make it a load of work and very overwhelming. So I find just blocking out a couple of hours every morning, or if you're doing this part-time, in the evening, sit down and do this, or before you go to work, whatever the case may be. I find that if you can break it up and do it throughout the week, it sure makes it a lot easier. Now, one other way you can create an online presence, depending on the school where you teach, you might be able to add content to your course. For instance, I teach a class where I've taught it in seat, and I had a really great PowerPoint presentation to kind of lay the foundation for the subject. So I decided to add that to my online courses as well. And it's a PowerPoint presentation. So what I do is I show the PowerPoint on my desktop. I use QuickTime to record the screen. And also I can, and it also records my voice through the microphone. And I go through the PowerPoint. And then when it's done, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is, I save the video and then I post it to YouTube. And then I can add that YouTube video into the course content fairly easy from that point in a couple of different ways, which I won't get into today. But to me, that helps to add content to the course, which of course helps to create presence in the online class as well. Another thing you might consider doing is recording a short video giving a lecture, maybe a 10, 15-minute lecture. I know lecture is not the right buzzword to use in adult education, but like it or not, there's going to be times when we are going to present some thoughts and ideas, and lecture seems to be the best way to do that, especially in an online class. Not like you can have a back and forth discussion at that point. So I might record a short video lecture, but I do keep it short. I select one main topic to focus in on, and I find that helps too. And I've done that a little bit, not as much as the other tactics, but I do that every now and again. Another thing I like to do is to post a second announcement each week after I have reviewed all the assignments and posted the grades. And in that announcement, I don't always video it. A lot of times it's just a quick written announcement. And then I select the box so it gets emailed out to the students as well as post to the announcements page. But I give a quick overview of some of the more common mistakes I found in the assignments that week. And then I talk about ways that they can do better next time. A lot of times that first week or so, I get students that just aren't including support or, to back up their thoughts and ideas. So I might comment on that. And then the next week I find their assignments are better because, truth be told, there's a lot of students out there that never read your feedback. And so I find that posting these follow-up announcements, if you will, or I call them an after-action review from my military days, after I've graded and posted the grades, I'll record this after-action review, so to speak, or write it out. The students will read that, and then they'll those that didn't do it will take it to heart and do better. And again, like the other comment I made earlier, I see a steady progressive improvement in their assignments based on that. Because like it or not, a lot of students will not review your grading comments. I don't know if it's because they don't know how. I've had students tell me I didn't know they were there. You got to click on the grade and then it opens up my comments. And surprises me, some students don't realize, and they may have been at school for who knows how long. But anyway, posting a second announcement helps. Once in a while, I'll also record a second video with thoughts about the topic that we're discussing. And in this video, I might just share with my students something I read in an article or in a book that is relevant to the topic. And these are short too, and I call them ramblings. So I'll just post it online. Again, it's just a quick YouTube video recording, and then I post it as a new announcement. And, sometimes it spurs on another discussion. I've actually created new discussions based on those kind of things. And again, the students seem to appreciate that. Another aspect of creating an online sense of presence, which isn't so obvious to everybody, is reaching out to those students when they're not participating. No one may know that you're doing this, but that student will. That student will know and appreciate the fact that you're reaching out to them. And that's pretty important as well, isn't it? So what I typically do is on the morning after the initial response to the discussion is due, if there's a few students that didn't post the night before when they should have, I'll send them a quick email just asking, hey, how you doing? I noticed that you haven't participated in the discussion as of yet. Just want to check on you and see if you have any questions about the assignment. Is there anything I can do? And to encourage you to get involved in the discussion as soon as possible. And I find that helps a lot. And again, it's not one of those things that everybody will see, but the result of it is the student then gets involved in that discussion, and that helps to create an online presence as well, doesn't it? It's kind of a side effect. I also do the same thing the morning after the assignments for the week are due. On Monday morning, the first thing I do is go in and check and see, are there any students that have not submitted an assignment? And unless I've heard from them prior to that, I'll send them an email. And you know what always bugs me is I usually always get a response back. Oh, yeah, my kid was sick, or this happened, or I got called into work, or something like that. And they never thought to reach out to me just with a quick email and say, hey, I'm not going to be able to submit my assignment by the due date. Can I have an extra day, which I would easily grant? But instead, they only respond to me when I reach out to them first. And again, it is what it is. It's one of those things about adult students, I guess. We get busy and we forget. And, we're not always the first priority, and I get that too. But I find it's important to send out that email because it'll help keep students on track, or it identifies those students that are no longer participating in the course and, eventually get withdrawn. So I get a variety of responses from these, but a lot of times it's hey, thanks for checking in on me. Yeah, my kid was sick, but I'm going to get that assignment in today. And, that's cool. I usually still deduct the late points and emphasize that if you'd reach out to me before the due date, we could work out an alternative due date. But, if they don't, then I usually hold them to the policy for submitting late assignments. So the bottom line is when it comes to creating an online presence, there's lots of things you can do. Posting an announcement each week, following up in the discussions, perhaps posting the after action review for grades, maybe posting an initial short video lecture or discussion, or just a idea. But those are all ways that we can create a good, thriving online presence. And as I said, I've been doing this now for a little while, and I find that when I'm online in my courses, those 3 or 4, I'm either posting an announcement, posting grades, responding to discussions, any of these types of things. I'm in my classroom 3, 4, 5 times a week. And when the course ends, it's not unusual for me to get an email from 1 or 2 or 3 students out of the class just saying, I really appreciate how much you were involved in our course. And it makes me stop and think that there are still a lot of instructors out there that don't do this. Because the reaction I get from some students is they just found the course so much more enriching and valuable, and they learned so much more simply because I was in the course with them, and they really appreciate that. So I like to do that. I think it's just it's that satisfaction of knowing that we're doing a good job and students do appreciate it. So think about some of the things that we've talked about and what you can do to create a good, strong sense of presence in your online class. What are the things that you're doing now? Are you posting announcements? Are you participating in the discussions? And just ask yourself, what can I do to step it up just a little bit more? Is it just that one simple additional post each week? But whatever it is, I hope that you will understand and appreciate the value that the students get from that. And as always, if you have any questions or comments for me about this, I'm always available at jimharger@proadjunct.com. And don't forget to check out my website too. Beth and I are putting some material on there, www.professionaladjunct.com. we've got a new thing on there called Flipboard. I don't know if you're familiar with Flipboard. It's you can go to flipboard.com, or, I use it on my iPad. It's a way to gather articles from different, dealing with different topics and kind of create a magazine out of it. And Beth and I have put together one on online faculty development, and you'll find a link to that on our website. And we're continually adding stuff as we're finding it online. So it's a resource that you can continue to check back and be a place to go for additional information about how to improve what it is that we do in the online classroom and teaching adult students. So until next time, y'all have a great rest of the day. Take care, everybody.